Marcus Chen had been tracking the deer for 3 hours through the Cascade Mountains when he heard the scream. It wasn't human. That was the first thing his brain registered. The sound cut through the morning air like shattered glass, high-pitched, and alien, sending every bird within a quarter-mile into panicked flight. Marcus froze, his rifle still slung across his shoulder, his breath misting in the October cold. The second scream came from just beyond the ridge, weaker this time, desperate. Every instinct told him to run. This was wrong. This was impossibly wrong. But Marcus had spent 2 tours in Afghanistan pulling wounded soldiers from burning vehicles, and some reflexes ran deeper than fear. He moved toward the sound. The crash site was small, almost invisible beneath the canopy of Douglas firs. If not for the thin trail of blue-white smoke rising between the branches, Marcus would have missed it entirely. What he'd initially thought was a boulder turned out to be a pod of some kind, its surface black and smooth like obsidian, split open like a cracked egg. And there, crumpled against a tree, was something that defied everything Marcus thought he knew about the universe. She, and Marcus's brain insisted on she, despite the alienness, was roughly humanoid. 2 arms, 2 legs, a head. But that's where similarities ended. Her skin was the color of deep twilight, a purple blue that seemed to shimmer with bioluminescence. What he'd thought was hair was actually something like crystalline fibers that caught the filtered sunlight and refracted it into rainbows. Her face was angular, beautiful in a way that made his chest tight, with eyes too large and entirely black, like pools of liquid space. Those eyes fixed on him now, wide with terror and pain. Her leg, he could see that much clearly, was badly broken. White bone protruded through torn flesh that bled a silver-blue fluid. Her left arm cradled her ribs, and each breath she took came in shallow, agonized gasps. "Jesus," Marcus whispered. She flinched at his voice, tried to scramble backward, and screamed again as her broken leg shifted. The sound tore at something primal in Marcus's chest. "Easy, easy," he said, lowering himself slowly to his knees, hands raised. "I'm not going to hurt you. I'm here to help." She said something then, a cascade of sounds like wind chimes and whispers, musical and utterly incomprehensible, but the tone that he understood. "Please. Help. Hurts." Marcus had treated battlefield wounds. He'd performed emergency triage with nothing but a first aid kit and adrenaline. This shouldn't be different. Except she was alien. And what if human? Medicine killed her. What if touching her was toxic to him? What if... She whimpered, and Marcus's training overrode his panic. "Okay," he said, more to himself than to her. "Okay, we're doing this." He shrugged off his pack, pulled out his emergency medical kit. Her enormous eyes tracked his every movement as he approached. When he gently touched her shoulder, she didn't pull away, though her whole body trembled. "I need to stabilize that leg," Marcus said softly, knowing she couldn't understand but hoping his tone would. "This is going to hurt." Her blood, if that's what it was, didn't burn his skin. That was good. He worked quickly, using his hunting knife to cut straight branches for a splint. She hissed and choked on cries as he straightened the leg, but she didn't fight him. Her hand shot out and gripped his wrist with surprising strength, those black eyes boring into his. Marcus met her gaze steadily. I know it hurts. Almost done." By the time he'd secured the splint and wrapped her ribs as best he could, Marcus's hands were covered in her silver-blue blood and shaking from adrenaline. She'd passed out twice from the pain, which was almost a mercy. The real problem was what came next. She needed proper medical attention, but taking her to a hospital meant... What? Government intervention? Military quarantine? He'd seen enough classified operations to know that first contact wouldn't end with a welcome party. She stirred, reached up with trembling fingers, and touched his face. The gesture was so unexpectedly gentle, so unmistakably grateful that Marcus felt his eyes sting. "Yeah," he said roughly. "You're welcome." He couldn't carry her down the mountain. She was lighter than she looked, but it was still miles of rough terrain. Instead, Marcus did what humans have always done best. He improvised. Using his tarp and branches, he constructed a travois. It took an hour, time during which she drifted in and out of consciousness, occasionally murmuring in that musical language. The sun was setting by the time Marcus dragged the travois into his cabin. His deer lay forgotten somewhere on the mountain, his hunt abandoned. He'd come looking for meat and found something infinitely more complicated. She woke fully as he lifted her onto his bed, those cosmic eyes snapping open in panic until she saw him and relaxed marginally. Marcus brought water, and she drank it gratefully, though her hands shook. "What's your name?" Marcus asked, sitting carefully on the edge of the bed. She tilted her head, considering. Then slowly, she pointed to herself and made a sound like distant thunder rolling through crystal caves. "Vaithara." "Vaithara," Marcus repeated, probably butchering it. He pointed to himself. "Marcus." "Mar.Cus," she attempted, and something about hearing his name in that alien voice made him smile despite everything. She reached out again, fingers brushing his hand, and spoke in her language. Marcus didn't understand the words, but the meaning was clear in her eyes, in the way she pressed her palm to his. "Thank you. You saved me." Outside, the stars were coming out, and somewhere up there was her home, a place Marcus had never imagined existed until today. Tomorrow he'd have to figure out how to help her, how to hide her, how to explain this to anyone. But tonight, Marcus just sat with this impossible being he'd found in the mountains, this woman from the stars who'd crashed into his life and changed everything. He'd gone hunting for deer and come back with a mystery that would rewrite humanity's place in the cosmos. Not a bad day's work, all things considered.